All right, we are live.
Hello, I'm Matt Bergman, and you're listening to the Punk Rock Libertarians podcast, episode 311. I'm here tonight with Jared Schneiderman,
Hey guys.
James Babb,
Hello.
Kyle fucking Wagner.
Oh, he's still not back.
Okay. Isn't this like
Thought
the
he was
second
back.
time in a row? Dude?
Yeah.
Kyle's like slacking mad. We've got Isaac Lindenberger is back on the
Hey.
program tonight.
What's good?
All right.
Dude. Yeah. Great to see you guys. So, number one on our topics, Isaac brought up settle for Biden.
Oh my gosh.
So, so
it
this is
trending?
actually a hashtag where people are saying, "Hey guys, come on, let's just settle for Biden."
Oh no, dude, this is like a whole campaign. Like this is
Okay.
like Trump is like make America great again, and Biden is settle for Biden. Like it's not the official campaign, but they've got shirts, they've got ads, they've got memes. Like one of the memes says, "Uninspiring, but he has my vote."
Yeah, like my friend Jared Schneiderman wanted me to ask if they had settle for Biden penis pumps.
Yeah, that's actually one of their top products.
Oh wow.
Oh,
It's
shit,
very
dude.
relevant if you think about it.
All right, I have a gift for Matt's birthday then.
Oh. Mm.
Yeah. There you go. We'll all get him one.
So is this like a real, like is it really in support of Biden, or
Yes,
do you think
yes.
it's like an op
It's
by like
real.
Trump supporters?
It is real. They've got pictures of people who are deciding to vote for Biden, and they're like, "He's settling for Biden. Why can't you?"
Yeah, but to me that
like
sounds like the
shaming
perfect,
you into
that
voting
sounds
for
like a
him.
perfect Trump ad.
She's
Like-
a victim of sexual assault and she can vote for a rapist. What can you do for Biden? You know, like
That's hilarious.
Dude, that's the ad, and it's like, this is your guy.
yeah, if
This is
if
who
it-
you want
yeah,
to run.
this woman's husband was put in jail for smoking a joint thanks to Kamala Harris. They've settled for Biden. Why can't you? You know, like I mean, like just go through these people that have been ruined and destroyed and raped
I mean,
and
James
molested.
Babb.
That's what
and,
I'm
like,
saying.
They're
That-
settling.
That sounds
James
like a
Babb.
great.
Yeah,
That
like
sounds like a
when you
great
put it-
like
When you
Joe
put it like
Jorgensen
that,
or Trump ad. You know?
yeah, like when you put it like that, who doesn't want to settle for Biden?
Dude, it's crazy. And I saw this on a leftist show, actually. Kyle Kalinske. He's like, I'm not going to compromise my principles. Like this ad is saying, compromise your principles to vote in party line. Like that's the ad. It's not even
Yeah.
convincing leftists.
Kyle Kalinske he's like what, a Bernie bro?
Yeah, he is. He's like, this dude doesn't even represent one of my 5 biggest topics. I'm not voting for him.
Hey,
I appreciate
Kyle
that.
Wagner.
At least.
Yeah.
Kyle Wagner, question. What's up with guys named Kyle being status bitches?
I'm not sure. They're known as adrenaline junkies typically.
Hashtag bros.
And bros, yeah. I don't typically fit that mold. I'm a little more personally conservative in my activities.
Do
I
you
play
punch
ice hockey.
drywall,
That's about it.
Do you punch drywall though?
I have punched drywall once. Yes.
Oh, do you drink Monsters?
No, I do not. No.
Hey. I just went
Okay,
to
you gotta get
settleforbiden.org because I Googled the hashtag and this came up as the top results. Settleforbiden.org, and it says it's time to settle. Settle for Biden is a grassroots
No
group.
way.
It says Settle for Biden is a
Yeah.
is a grassroots group of former Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders supporters who recognize Joe Biden's flaws but know that our nation will not survive 4 more years of Donald Trump. Settle.
I
Biden
told
is
you it's
honest.
real,
fantastic,
dude.
but Trump is far, far worse. And they've got an Instagram feed. They've got
It's real.
Well, these are the people that the Jorgensen campaign seems to be targeting. They're trying to go after the people that are the Bernie, the really progressive side that doesn't want establishment Joe Biden, right?
dude,
Right.
this is so ready to run with, right? Like for us to just start adding into the Instagram feed, just take it one next to the next level, just the next logical step, like like, oh man, yeah, like, Joe Biden sniffed my kids and I'm gonna settle, like.
I'm still voting for him, and that was my kid up there that rubbed his leg hair.
Yeah, like he kissed my kid on the lips and she's only 9, but I'm settling, like.
Because Trump is much worse.
Wow, yeah,
Yeah.
This could be great meme fodder.
Oh my God. Yeah, the
It
thought of
makes
Trump-
people mad at
thought-
you too.
Right.
It's crazy.
If
I
you
made a
don't settle?
post. Yeah, I was like,
Or if you
voting
do settle.
blue. If you don't settle, I made a post. I was like, voting blue no matter who is how tyrants get into power. Please think harder than this. And everyone's like, you don't get to say that right now. We have a tyrant in power. Like,
Hey guys, so
they
like,
always say.
yeah, so like last night I was hanging out with Status Ned, and we were just like chilling on his porch, smoking some weed, like talking about shit, and he was like, and I felt like he was just getting some things off of his chest, and he was saying, "Yo, I got to vote for Joe Biden because Joe Biden's the only person that'll save us from the coronavirus. Donald Trump's going to destroy the country." What do you think about that?
How is Joe Biden going to save us from coronavirus?
I don't know. That's what I asked.
That's
And
a
I'm
good
I'm like,
question.
I'm like, how is Joe Biden not half senile? How is
Yeah.
how is Joe Biden like less cognitively there than Donald Trump?
I think
Yeah,
How is he
that
less
I think
cognitive?
the whole
Difference.
cognitive
How
thing
is he
fake.
not less cognitively there than Donald Trump?
And
I
it's
think
not
they're
like
just-
Biden has any great coronavirus policies. Like anything he said that's like, oh, that's
Right.
so impressive. Like,
Yeah, I
there's
mean,
none
the
of that.
scary thing about Biden too is kind of like he could be. What if he's like president for like fucking 2 months, and then they figure out he's like fucking senile, and then Kamala Harris becomes president? That's the really
Oh.
scary thing about Biden.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Kamala Harris has already pledged obedience to Goldman Sachs and Israel on the military-industrial complex and whatever. So that's
She
not
backs
going to
the
be an
blue.
issue. That's a
And she's
backup, but
blue.
I think the whole senility thing is fake, right? Or they're just trying to play it up. Anything to not talk about the kid sniffing and the leg hair in the pool and the credible rape allegations and the crime bill and
Do you
his
think
whole
he's acting
lifetime of
senile
being-
to distract from that stuff?
Well,
see
it's
someone ask him
theoretically
about it?
possible, right? Like,
Yeah,
if-
it could be.
Someone asked him if he was going senile, actually, and he was like, "Well, did you just do cocaine before? How do I know
Yeah.
you're not high on cocaine?" Like,
Well, no, they asked him if he had taken a test or a cognitive ability test,
That's
and he
it.
was like, "Oh, did you take a cocaine test before you started this interview?"
He got a little defensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like what?
and his son was the one who had used cocaine in the past, so it's like
Yeah,
a
his son,
Freudian
his son,
slip.
his
Or
son
for all you
smokes
know-
crack.
for all you know, that reporter and Biden did coke just prior to the interview, like right there in the green room, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
who
maybe that's
knows?
why he said it.
Yeah, who knows?
Got some in his nose still, dude.
Tony Montana over there.
I do think it's possible if Biden wins that the coronavirus will be portrayed differently in the media. You know, it will be downplayed more. Maybe the media is hyping it up because Trump's in power and making it a bigger crisis than it is.
Maybe I've thought about that as well.
But
I'm
it
not
seems
sure.
like all the Democratic governors are the ones making hay with it. So
Right,
I
exactly.
don't really
So,
understand how
That's a
that
good
really
point,
is.
too.
A thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're boosting it up to like kind of like ignite rage against Trump.
That's what I'm thinking.
Every tyrant has a plan to use coronavirus to advance their power up and
Yeah.
down the food chain at
Oh.
all levels. So, they've all got something in mind.
I found out a hack to find out if someone's manipulating data in your region for coronavirus deaths.
Hey, Kyle.
looking
Hey,
into.
Kyle. Question: Have you thought about how you could use coronavirus to advance statism?
I have not given that much thought. No, but I
I
did
don't
ask.
believe you, but whatever.
I did ask my dad the other day if he thought that it was overblown. Our reaction is overblown, and he said he didn't think that it was. I mean, my dad's actually, even though he's a Trump supporter, he actually leans toward more masks, and he has some fear of it. And I just was like, I've been hearing both sides, but I've been hearing a lot on the right saying that this whole thing's either a fraud or that, the masks are the start of a slippery slope toward tyranny and we shouldn't be wearing masks. and all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, maybe it is overblown. I don't know. But my dad said 3 of the 10 people in his company have contracted coronavirus, which is a very high rate. It's
Yeah.
much higher than the rate in the general population. So
Right.
maybe he's right. Maybe it's not overblown. I don't know.
Well, there's a way to tell if in your area it's overblown or not, and you have to look at deaths and not cases, because cases like the test kits are questionable, and whether or not the hospitals have an incentive to have more people who are sick.
You have to look at
that's
overall
all
deaths, right?
questionable. You have to look at overall deaths in your region. So the overall deaths of this thing throughout the world is around 0.7, 0.6% of people who get it die. So if your area has like 3% deaths, it's being exaggerated. If it has like closer to 1%, it's more likely on point.
Be careful,
And,
Isaac, though, because once people realize that it's the deaths that they should really be paying attention to, then that's the number that'll start getting manipulated. They'll start creating more deaths to continue with the scam, right? They're like,
That's
they
true.
say they require deaths now.
Well,
Okay,
at
do your
first
thing,
they
boys.
thought 6%, right? 5%, 4% death rate, which is insane. It's more like 0.6. Now, that's not to underestimate it, though, because even though it's a lot less than they said, that's still 6 times worse than the flu, because the flu caps in at 0.1%. So it's not as bad as they're saying, but it's still worse than the flu. So it's like there's a medium of severity that needs to be contextualized to understand the situation.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, hopefully that doesn't mess up anything, because if people start messing with death rates now, it's not my fault.
It's not like they wouldn't do it. They're like, well,
Yeah.
if more people were dying, we could have more power. Interesting.
Case rates aren't enough anymore. Half-baked test kits.
There is a way to look at just overall deaths, right? Just from anything, because as many people pointed out, a lot of deaths are being counted as COVID, even if they weren't directly caused by COVID. And then in other cases, they're missing the test, so they don't confirm it as a COVID death. But if you count, like if you were to look at New York when they had their big, breakout, you could just look at overall deaths just from any cause in that city and compare that to previous years and find that it was like just crazy high. It was like more deaths than happened on 9/11 in the period of like 1 month or something like that.
Oh yeah. Look at the accelerated death rate compared to baseline.
Right. Exactly.
Right. That's a good strategy.
Yeah.
The Adam and Dr. Drew show was talking about how people are fearful now. And he said he remembers back in the day when there was something like this, people had a let's fight this mentality. We need to fight this disease. We need to beat this disease. And now it's sort of a cower in fear mentality. And that got me thinking, Adam wrote a book called In 50 Years, We'll All Be Chicks. You could call him misogynist or sexist, but he does write and talk quite a bit about this mentality of more feminine energy or taking over our thinking or taking over our way of behaving. And it just got me thinking, I'm playing ice hockey with all these like men, and it's like, I don't know. I don't really see the courage or the, this disease is no big deal or anything like that. I guess there's just a lot of fear out there of this disease.
Kyle, that's interesting you said that, because there's an experiment in social psychology that researches war metaphors and the chances somebody will take a disease seriously. So if you talk in like language like we have to fight this disease together and battle it like it's a threat like that, it actually disengages people from proactively preventing the spread, because it's I don't know, it's got that kind of scary war vibe to it. But instead, if you go like you could help people by supporting them with this virus, it's more likely to encourage voluntary pro-social behavior. So I think that's potentially some of what you're seeing is a change in rhetoric on how we get people to support this kind of stuff. I wouldn't necessarily say it's masculine or feminine. I would say it's more, I don't know, it's more like trying to encourage altruism or something like that. You know what I mean? I think feminine maybe isn't the right. I mean, based off the book this guy wrote, sounds up his alley, but maybe not.
Well, I also had an argument with a conservative on Facebook this week. I would say a libertarian-leaning conservative. And he wants to fight the masks. You know, he's very defiant about the masks. He's like, I refuse to wear a mask. I refuse to wear a mask. He was like, this is, and then the people in the comments, one of them compared it to like the early steps of the Holocaust, you know, where like this is like the stars that they're making you wear, and they're just sort of taking it as, well, this is the elephant's nose under the tent, or the camel's nose under the tent, right? This is just the start of more steps toward tyranny, and then what comes next? You know, that you have to get tested for COVID to get employed, you know, or you're required to get a vaccine for employment or something like that. You know, mandatory vaccines. And he says if we tolerate, you know, mask mandates, there's only worse things coming down the pike. So I thought that was an interesting thought. I didn't necessarily agree, but you know, that's his position.
Yeah, I just met someone like that. I got patronized for wearing a mask in a vape shop the other day. He's like, "You really need to be wearing that right now?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm ugly, man. This makes me look so much better. I get way more girls with a mask on, man."
What state are you in, Isaac?
Ohio.
Was this the proprietor of the shop?
Yeah, dude. Like the guy who's supposed to be enforcing the mandate, he's like telling me to take the thing off. I'm like, dude, I get way more girls with this thing, man. I gotta keep it. I look terrible. Like, I'm not trying to give him a real argument. So
yeah, I couldn't believe these people I was talking to. They're saying they go into stores with no masks, and I'm like, well, I mean, maybe where they live, it's more possible. In Maryland, literally, I'd never seen anybody with no mask. The stores all have big signs, mask required. Everybody in the store wears a mask. So our culture, at least in this state, is very much like, I mean, it would be really weird if I saw somebody without a mask on.
Well, you know, I've talked to like, I was hanging out with a friend earlier who's in the, you know, the food industry, right? He does like seafood carry out. And I was asking him about like his experience with no maskers. And he's a few people like, you know, just blow up inside of his store because he asked them to wear a mask. But I mean, and I've heard about it from other people as well. Like they've just had like some like nightmarish experiences from people who just roll up and insist that they shouldn't have to wear a mask.
Yeah, it's not like a vaccine. Like you can't do that with a vaccine, you know, like that's internal. That's not something that you wear around you. That's like a clothing item, you know? So I think linking it to vaccines is probably a little extreme.
It's the start of a slippery slope. Like I said, I could see that argument, you know, if we'll tolerate the mask mandate, what's the next mandate?
Eye goggles.
I guess
it's already on the way. Like whatever. I've stopped wearing masks, and here in Arizona, there's a lot of all the stores have a sign, but nobody said anything to me. I go right into the grocery store, I go right into the gas station, and go right in everywhere. Nobody cares. They're all kind of like, I think, blindly obeying because they feel their obedience is like required, but like you can tell nobody actually cares.
Dude,
nobody's mentioning it. Nobody's even looking at me funny.
Hey, Babs, is there a chance they're just recognizing your white privilege?
My what privilege?
Your white privilege.
Well, whatever works, I guess. I don't know. I have a feeling that anybody could do this, however, of any color or gender.
Some people are hesitant to confront others. You know, I know that I am personally, but I know that, you know, like people from New York and New Jersey are not at all hesitant to confront. But maybe they just don't want to initiate a confrontation with you. It's possible.
Great. So that works for everybody.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I want to just ask you guys real quick. Don't you think that mask mandates are like on the borderline within, I don't think it's appropriate, but it's kind of borderline, but obviously a vaccine mandate to go into a store is too far. Like masks are more questionable, but a vaccine is like, that's totalitarian. Isn't that intuitive?
Well, who's setting the rule though? That's the thing.
I want to respect the rules of the property owner, and I do.
Exactly.
And if I thought that, and if going to a store that the property owner wanted me to wear a mask, I would do it or not go there. No problem with that, right? Yeah. But what's happening is, well, it's the law. You got to put the sign up. Okay, we put the sign up. That doesn't mean they want you to wear a mask. Like it's just, it becomes unclear. So I look for signs like, Yeah, but then you can tell, like, when you look at if you can see them when like when they're like thinking nobody else is looking and a bunch of the employees aren't wearing them and nobody, like, they're talking to each other without them, that's
Right.
I take the cues from that, because it's difficult to tell otherwise. But otherwise, you know what? I'd let them just, if somebody wants to say something like, oh, we ask that you wear a mask, then I would accept that as the property owner wanting me to do that. But
what if they wanted you to be vaccinated, though? Even for a business owner, doesn't that seem too far?
Yeah, it's too far for a
so
business owner, and they would have no way of checking, right? You just be like,
how the hell would they
I'm
know?
vaccinated.
Well, they might,
Right.
they could demand proof, and then I would just leave, and that's fine.
Yeah,
It's
like
dumb, but it's
what
fine.
if they start insisting on anal swabs to be able to like tell if you've been vaccinated, dude?
Well, then I'm going shopping everywhere in town, dude. Get that for free.
Yeah, Matt'll be right behind you with that swab.
I don't worry about the tyranny of the private business personally. I definitely worry about the tyranny of the government. That's where I have.
Wow, Kyle, that was remarkably unstatist.
Yeah, I mean,
I applaud
but
you.
you do want to make sure those businesses are obeying the government that you voted for, and right. I mean,
no, not particularly. I'm just like, I'm saying that my concern would be the government says this vaccine is mandatory, right? I'm not sure how I would feel about that, especially
what if
with
the government says this mask is mandatory? What's the difference?
I guess
a vaccine's covered by a HIPAA, so it's a private medical.
And I think that's a question. Like, what is more intrusive? Like,
the vaccine.
Obviously, the vaccine.
I would say
it's like
so.
altering your body chemistry.
Exactly. It's sticking your arm with the needle.
I mean, wearing a mask is just putting a piece of cloth on your face.
Well, it's a difference of degree, but not of kind.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, if we're talking about a mandate, all mandates, in my eyes, are
differences of degree.
Differences of degree, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all mandates. Yeah.
But they're all mandates. They're all government
mask is
force.
still too far, but it's like understandable. Right.
What about requiring shoes?
Too far.
Requiring shoes?
Most businesses.
Does the government require shoes?
Is that I think that's probably a private thing.
I think it is too.
I mean, if you're in a restaurant, I imagine that the FDA could come in and shut you down.
The only place I've ever seen, place I've ever seen the shoe sign is on 7-Eleven. They have shirt and shoes required. Yeah.
But pants still optional.
Pants are optional.
Yes, they are.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. So I was trying to think of mandates, right? And I was talking to this guy. His name's Rocco. Like I said, he's a liberty conservative, starting to really lean towards Trump. And he's definitely, over the years, has drifted away from his Ron Paul roots, in my opinion. But so I was trying to defend the mandate for masks. Not in this context, because I actually don't agree with mandating masks right now. But I was trying to think of a circumstance where we might say, government in that case would be justified, or that would be a good idea to mandate masks. And I said, well, what if the fatality rate of COVID was like 30%, or we had a real serious, like movie level problem here where 30-40% of the population was dying or like dead or dying.
Yeah.
You think you're going to need a mandate at that point to make people cooperate? No, of course you're not going to need a mandate. The more desperate it gets, the more voluntary cooperation you would get. It's this bullshit that requires the mandate, right? When there's a legitimate threat, I think everyone will be like totally on board.
I don't know about that though, James, because there's a lot of conflicting evidence on whether or not masks are even good for you. And a lot of people who don't wear masks think that masks are bad for you, and actually the opposite of effective. So I'm not so sure that even if this was 50% mortality
let's say
rate,
mass
we'd have people
aside.
wearing masks.
Let's say mass aside, because yes, like you said, there is some question. There's some questioning. There's some controversy around that. But I mean, if it was like social distancing, right? I think
if everyone's dying,
if everyone's dying, you're staying inside your fucking house.
If 30% of your family and bosses and coworkers and dentists are dead, then you're probably gonna I'd just hunker down and hope, pray. I don't know.
Yeah, we'd actually be sheltering in place. Totally. Is that what they called it?
I don't
Yeah.
know if I'd even be willing to
Something like
talk to
that.
you guys on Zoom at that point. You know, like
Well, we could just wear masks on Zoom, right? I've got one over here somewhere. Just
I
in
mean,
case the mic-
that kind of mortality rate is what you see in the movies, right? About, epidemics or pandemics.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like literally everybody's turning into a zombie or something like that, So this has been, compared to the movie pandemics, very mild, in my opinion.
very disappointing.
It is.
Very
There's
disappointing.
There's a John Hopkins scientist named Amesh Adalja, and he talks about that. He's like, yeah, this could be way worse. It's not. It could be, but hopefully we learn from this one just in case the next one is that bad and we don't make the same mistakes. So there's
We've already learned how to control everybody for next time. Great.
Hopefully. Or, hopefully everyone can learn how to control themselves.
FEMA's learned how to get an early, to confiscate the masks early, right? Like get out in front of the demand.
And make sure the Surgeon General tweets not to buy masks and they don't work.
Right.
Before mandating them.
Yeah, just to give your crew a chance to steal them all.
Yeah, exactly. Hike the price and increase doubt in the product, and then make sure everyone has to do it.
Yeah.
That's public health for you.
The next topic, Matt.
Kyle, settle down.
Settle down, Kyle.
Yeah, no, I got you, dude. But so the next topic is Cardi B and Joe Biden. So, like, what happened here? There was a conversation between the two, I gather.
Some kind of weird interview. I don't. Was it? Did it go viral? Did people care about it? Because I saw it. Like Cardi B, she's famous. Where's and she interviews Biden and calls him Biden. It was for L.
I saw the YouTube video on Now This Politics, but they said the interview is courtesy of Elle, or
Yeah.
I guess it's Elle Magazine, ELLE, and they just had highlights from it. So that's why it was a little, maybe what Jared was watching was a little cut up, because it was excerpts of the interview.
No, I was saying it wasn't cut up. I was watching the full. I was watching the full interview on LNL.
Okay.
All right,
maybe
I watched the edited version, which was just bizarre.
Well, they did start with, she's like, "Hi, Biden," like,
and he's like, "My name's Joe."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it was an awkward.
They call me
start.
Joey B. We must be related.
And her
fingers were so cringy. It was so.
Cringy.
Why did she call him Biden? Like,
I don't know. She's an idiot. I don't know.
That's just what she's used to, I mean, just maybe read his name in the media and just mentally that's what she thought. Just call him Biden.
Maybe that's what you should call him. Like, what would you call him if you saw him on the street and you're like, "Yo, Biden"?
Much worse, definitely.
Get away from my kid, Biden.
Normally,
I don't know.
Aren't people normally addressed by like their highest political office that they've attained? Like, if it was a governor, you'd say, "Hello, governor," or that's what I thought the etiquette was. So maybe you would say, "Hey, Mr. Vice President." That's an awkward thing to say too.
Or how about like, "Hey, Biden, you fucking leech."
Yeah. I don't know how you would address him properly.
Well, I think, maybe in our circles we should address each other by like our highest level crime that we've committed. Like, "Hey, felon Jim," or like, "Hey,
yeah.
Hey, misdemeanor Matt.
Yeah, I really don't know what you're supposed to
be a Mr. Meanant. A Mr. Meanant?
Second degree Steve, bro. What's up?
Yeah, I don't know what the formal intro would be to use his name. Mr. Vice President, something like that. I don't know. But anyway, he said, "Call me Joe," so she called him Joe. And then I noticed that her, Cardi B, she just, her dialect is very interesting. I don't know. She's quite a character. So, but she gets right into it with, she says, here are my demands, right? So she's like, "This is what we want." Number one, of course, was we want Trump out. Right. Number two was free Medicare. Number three was free college education. And number four was Black people to stop getting killed. So those were her top priorities.
Now, did Biden respond to those? Because when I heard that, I didn't hear anything except, "You're the greatest generation and I've got hope for you and we're going to."
I think we watched the same video, which was clips and not the full interview. So no. in that clip, I saw the same thing you saw, which was he was placating her, calling her the most well-educated, most intelligent, and all. I'm like, do you know who Cardi B is? You know,
Like, is she
We've
the
got,
same
like,
one who was talking about like needing a mop and stuff like that? Like,
yeah.
yes, for her
Okay.
wet
Yes, the
ass.
most intelligent. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
oh, this is 2020. This is it, man. This is good stuff.
Well, he's what do you call it? I said placate, but that's not the right word.
Patronize.
Patronizing. You know,
Yeah.
he's puffing up her ego, talking about how, you know, her generation gives him hope, and you know they're so engaged and everything. And meanwhile, I'm listening to it like, okay, you want free this and free that, and then everything's just at someone else's expense, right? And you know, I mean, it's just pure greed. But like libertarians have been conditioned not to criticize greed because of Ayn Rand and all that. But like these people are greedy. You know, they want all this stuff and they want someone else to pay for it. So to me, it's both selfish and greedy, and that's what we're dealing with is a bunch of parasites.
The problem is it's also hidden in altruism, right? Because it's saying, oh, we want this so it can be redistributed to others to help them. So it's greed disguised as giving, and that's why it's hard to spot out and weed because it's disguised.
Yeah, well, they say, oh, it's for everybody, but really they want it for themselves. You know, they
Right.
don't want to pay for their own college
Well,
education.
or in Cardi B's case, it's for her fan base, right?
Right,
Which,
yeah.
you know, which want, you know, which would love more free shit. So
Yeah, free this, free that. And the other thing that
They already
bothered me,
torrent her music.
the other thing that bothered me was like this mentality that has developed where it's like the president is Santa Claus and he's going to deliver all of this stuff. Congress is completely out of the equation. Passing laws is out of the equation. It's just, you know, dear daddy dictator, what can you get for me? And it's just terrible.
Dear Daddy.
well, at least they don't pretend anymore, right? Like they don't say he doesn't. There's no like, well, under the presidential powers, I'm allowed to do. No, nobody even pretends that. Like they're just like, yeah, I like that sound of free stuff. You guys are with it. You're cool.
Yeah, Trump does it too. I'm not going to exempt Trump. Trump's out there with the executive orders bypassing Congress. His supporters want to bypass Congress. You know, nobody seems to respect the fact that we have a legislative body that's supposed to be debating this stuff.
Where's Daddy Dictator with the wall? That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
you know, where's that damn wall? Just kidding. Continue.
I don't know. Those were all my thoughts on the interview.
Okay, so somebody wanted to talk about Ben Shapiro WAP. Ben Shapiro.
Oh, yeah.
Wet ass pussy.
I mean, his response to that controversy was terrible. Like,
So
he might have been
what was
able to
his
make
response?
up for it. He said, you know how much this endless parade of jokes about me and my wife bothers me? Not one bit. My wife and I both know that there are much more important things in a marriage than sexual satisfaction.
Wow.
Wow.
I feel like
also
dude,
housekeeping. There's guilt trips. There's home repairs. There's
Just admitting he can't please his wife. Like, it just
do you think
digs
he's
himself a bigger hole, dude.
Do you think he's this stupid, or do you think he's just doing this to just generate more publicity for himself?
I think he's just that bad with women.
Oh.
That's possible.
Yeah, it's almost like he's trying to joke, but he's actually like burning himself. You know, like repeatedly. I don't know. Maybe he is stupid.
Maybe he likes it. Like the
That's
owner
what
of
I'm saying.
T-Mobile, he
I
says
think
he
it's all
loves
on
to be
purpose.
hated. So maybe he likes that. He gets a kick out of that.
Yeah, he's definitely a very smart dude.
These are strange things to be saying for a smart dude. I mean, it's a self burn, right?
I agree. So maybe he's like,
Yeah, but
this will get me.
I'm saying that he's just trying to stay in the consciousness, right?
Maybe.
exactly. Look, he's getting talked about on Punk Rock Libertarians podcast. Okay,
Yeah,
like it's
dreams come
working
true.
for him.
It's only downhill from
working
there.
for him. Like you
Yeah,
get in
that's
a
right.
controversy with somebody. The idea is to get into a controversy with somebody that's like 10 or 100 times more famous than you. Bingo, right? Like
Right.
that's winning in showbiz.
Well,
right?
that's what Alyssa Milano tried to do with the with her comments about Joe Rogan's podcast. You know, then everybody started talking about her and like her comparison to him, and now she's elevated. No one knew she had a podcast before then. Now a lot more people do.
Good
True.
for her.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, Shapiro's not getting more famous. He's staying in the consciousness, like you said. But I just don't understand the point of saying something like that. That's such a self-burn.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like he's like smarter than that statement.
maybe he's making a judgment error. Maybe this is going to backfire and he's going to lose fans. But somehow
I think
I don't think he is.
his conservative fan base is probably like, yeah, he's really sticking it to those sluts in Hollywood or New York or the media or those
degenerates,
sticking it to the libtards or whatever they say. Like they're probably still like, yeah. I don't know, Kyle. What are they saying? You're one of them, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Last I heard, Kyle was like all against quote unquote perpetrating the myth of the female orgasm. Quote.
That's not true.
That's what Kyle said.
That's not true. But I did defend Ben Shapiro on his initial take on the WAP song, which I thought was, a little too risque for mass consumption. I thought
did you
children.
Buy the single or did you buy the whole album, Kyle?
No, I just watched the YouTube video, and it's like you can watch the radio edit, which the video is pretty raunchy, but then it's censored. It's not WAP. It's wet and gushy, I think they say. Wet and gushy. It sounds super weird because it's not.
I thought they say cookie or something like wet ass
no,
cookie.
It's something gushy. Wet and gushy. But then like right below that video is the explicit lyrics version that so you can just listen to, and it just got me thinking the accessibility. But somebody I think on this podcast said like, well, it's up to the parents to monitor their kids' internet usage, just like it used to be to monitor what albums they're buying and consuming. So
did your parents ever monitor the albums you were consuming?
They did, yeah. Not music so much. I was never a big music buff, but video games. Like I remember Ninja Turtles came out with a movie when I was like 12 or 13 that I really wanted to see, and it was PG-13, and my parents wanted to watch it beforehand. But my mother in particular was very strict as far as consumption of violence and mature content.
Is that Karen Wagner?
No.
Is that
what about like South Park? Like, is that good for kids, or do you think kids are okay with that? Like,
South Park probably not. It's probably a bit much for kids, but they air it later, and it's on cable television, and they have warnings on there that this is mature content. And the real audience.
My kids, I said, look, South Park, it is totally inappropriate. And you probably shouldn't go to southparkstudios.com, and definitely don't binge watch like all the seasons. Okay. Yeah. It's totally inappropriate to southparkstudios.com. Yeah.
I mean, their real audience is adults, right? It's people who understand the subtext, who understand that it's.
Dude, I remember when it first came out. When it first came out, I was in like 11th grade, and it was blowing my mind.
Yeah, 11th grade. You're older. That's the audience.
It still kind of blows my mind thinking about it. Like South Park did create a lot of libertarians.
Well, dude,
I was South Park's probably second only to Ron Paul.
I think I was in elementary school when that shit came out. But I don't think I started watching it until maybe high school.
I mean, I think at high school you're old enough to really appreciate the comedy. I don't know. Maybe little kids enjoy it, but it's not Disney's Playhouse or whatever, or Mickey's Funhouse.
Like I remember the first time I saw South Park, I was in my 11th grade. I think it was like an algebra class. It was some sort of mathematics class. And one of my friends in that class had a VHS where he had like copied like 6 episodes of South Park off Comedy Central, and he was like, "Hey, dude, you got to check out this show." Yeah, so that was it. That was my first exposure to South Park.
Nice.
All right, what's up next?
So, yeah, man. So Isaac, you wanted to talk about Warren Buffett is buying gold.
I just thought it was interesting he was buying gold because that dude's been trashing gold for the longest time. Like, gold has no value. You just dig it out of the ground, blah, blah, blah. And he just put like millions of dollars of his assets into gold. So it makes me wonder, does this dude think that the world economy is about to crash?
Like, I mean, I'm just curious as to what scale we're talking about here.
266.7 million.
Wow.
That's sizable even for him, right?
I did not
into
know that
what?
off the top of my head. I just guessed that number.
Into golds? You just made that up.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the number.
I don't know. You're so smart.
Well, it's important.
I figured you did.
It's off the top of my head.
Wasn't his
hold
father
on.
a gold advocate? Wasn't
Was he?
Warren Buffett Sr. a gold advocate?
He might have been.
I don't
That's
even.
possible.
He's not.
But
Really
like, let's just
talked
say
about
he
it.
dropped like $2 million on gold. Like that's what he spends on like hors
That's what I
d'oeuvres.
was gonna say, James. Yeah.
Here, I think
So-
it was around 200 million though. Let's see. I think he thinks the world economy is about to crash, and that's why he did it. He must be losing faith in the dollar. I think.
Well, does Buffett trash gold as like?
he
there's
did
no-
before.
Well, I mean, is he trashing it? Because he's about value investing, right? And gold is not a value investment, right? It's not going to appreciate in value. It's just going to hold value,
For
right?
sure.
It could very
certain.
well appreciate, Jared.
I mean, it could appreciate, but
But it's not like Bitcoin.
it's not a company, right? A company could start off in the basement of someone's parents' house and then turn into a multinational company, right? That's not going to happen with gold. Gold is just going to be gold. It's going to fluctuate in relationship to like the strength of the dollar and other factors, but it's never going to just like skyrocket to be worth 50,000. No matter what Peter Schiff says.
It could. That would come with a loss of faith in the dollar.
Yeah, sure. If the dollar's worth nothing, then it could be like infinite dollars. But
That's right.
I just mean its value perceptually is not going to change significantly. It's just going to increase in value in relationship to the dollar, right?
Well, no, that's what I'm trying to explain. I mean, value is subjective.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's like,
subjective.
and right now you have a small percentage of the population that sees any value in gold or that wants gold. But that could change, if the price
Sure, demand
doubles, if
could-
it
yeah.
triples, just like Bitcoin, that sucks in new people looking at gains, and then they start to value gold, and it can actually, valuation can snowball. People start to think it's more and more and more and more valuable. So it can go to the moon, literally, especially if the percentage of the population that thinks there's value in gold increases,
That's true, but I mean, just historically speaking, you haven't seen that kind of. I mean, we've seen like a slow climb, right?
there
But
have
yeah,
been
sure, anything's
spikes,
possible.
yeah.
It's the value. Yeah, right. Value is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone decides that gold is now worth $50,000, yeah, that could happen. I'm just saying it's not
right.
I think Buffett's point is that it's not an investment in which the fundamentals change. The fundamentals are consistent, right?
They
I want to know
are.
what Jimmy Buffett's investing in.
He put in 560 million in gold.
Wow.
So
That's hard to
That's
believe.
significant. Yeah.
everyone's
He may
like
be hedging.
everyone's saying he bet against the U.S. economy, and that's the tagline.
Or he's
So,
at least betting against the dollar.
yeah.
That
yeah.
sounds
I mean,
more.
it's a fair,
Well,
kind of a
Well,
fair
it's the
bet.
dollar
dude.
and the fact that the stock market seems to be overvalued at this point, and everyone's waiting for a correction. So maybe he does believe the correction is coming. So he wants to.
Well, I think
protect his
come on,
assets.
stock markets are doing great, but yet everybody like the economy's in shambles. Businesses are destroyed still. Like people are out of work. And the stock market is booming. Something seems fishy here, right? Like
Yeah.
there definitely could be a big correction coming, and where it kind of like all of this misery catches up. And hey, you know what? You could probably make a lot of money by betting the opposite of however I invest, but shit, when
Yeah.
shit gets crazy, like gold is gold, and everybody
Yeah.
knows that. And
Right.
whatever shit's coming down the road, and I think we can all imagine it might get really freaking weird in the next year, 2 years, 5 years. I don't even know. Like we're gonna see things that we never thought we would see, and having some gold, it's not a bad thing in that situation. So
Yeah.
I think Warren's no dummy.
That's why I just
Bitcoin,
bought some gold. I was-
Bitcoin soared. I mean, Yahoo recently, I don't know when they did it, but they added the symbol for Bitcoin, and I was able to add it to my stock tracker. Now I can follow Bitcoin and gold together, and I'm just like, oh my God, like Bitcoin's 12,000, gold's at like 2,000. You know, I really made a big mistake back in the day. At the time,
How much is 1 ounce of Bitcoin worth?
Or I don't know about an ounce, but one Bitcoin is $11,600. You know, and at the time when I bought some gold, gold was more expensive than Bitcoin. So Bitcoin soared past it. I thought it was a gimmick. I didn't think it was going to stick around. I thought some other cryptocurrency would displace it by now, and I've been wrong about that. But I can admit that there are people like Peter Schiff who never admit that they were wrong, but like, you know,
dude, I spent a bunch of Bitcoin on weed. So I
Yeah.
spent like 10 Bitcoin on weed. That's like worth like $1 million now.
That sucks, dude.
It was worth it actually. I got really high.
You spent
Good.
10 Bitcoin on weed. 10 Bitcoin is now
That
what,
must have
100 and whatever it is, $111,000 or something like that. Or
You know,
Okay, so
one
it's
transaction.
10 times 12.
don't worry about it though. You know, there's 100 things
120,000.
like that in everyone's life. Like we can always
Right.
look back and be
Yeah,
like, oh, I
you don't
sold
wanna
my
look
Apple
at
stock
lost
at the wrong
gains.
time. I always did this. You know, there's always 100 different things you could have done differently to have phenomenal windfall gains.
I don't think
No.
you're really thinking about this. So you lost $120,000 worth on this one transaction.
No,
But
he
I
It
didn't.
wasn't worth that much at the time.
Kyle, you haven't heard this part yet. I got a 1/4 pound of weed, and the guy accidentally gave me a 1/2 pound. So I got twice as much weed as I would have normally gotten. Does that factor into your equation at all?
Not
But
at
Kyle,
all.
you have to look at it as the opportunity cost at that time. What different things could he have done with that?
Exactly, James. And
he
I got
could've
double
bought-
the bud.
I know. I just in hindsight's 2020, and in hindsight, that was a huge mistake.
Yeah, but
But
in that
that's
same
okay.
right, and that you made the same mistake because that day,
it's more like
you spent-
hindsight.
You spent $100 on
Yeah.
frozen pizza when you could have gone and bought crypto with it, but you didn't. You know, so
Yeah.
you fucked
Well,
up.
I didn't see. It's different because I didn't have it.
Hey,
and then get rid
Jared,
of
Jared, podcast title, Hindsight's 420.
it.
I mean, hindsights.
You better write it down
Hindsight's
because we're not
worth
gonna have
420.
anything better than that.
I don't like it.
I don't know.
There's a
Okay,
guy
we'll
who
see what we
committed
got.
suicide after telling his whole family to buy Bitcoin. He sold it when it hit 1,000, and then he saw it hit 10 grand, and he was at 20 grand even, and he took himself out.
You never
Yeah,
want to
so-
do that.
You
Never
don't want to
get-
think.
never get
you-
so wrapped
James
up in
is
it.
right. You don't want to think about lost opportunities. You want to think about what can I learn from that for the future to do right later.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I
flip the
remember looking at
scene.
Bitcoin because when Bitcoin first came around, it was harder to get, right? You had to find someone that actually had it. There were no this was even like before exchanges, you know, before MT Gox. But I remember
tell everyone what that was real quick.
well, it was originally a Magic the Gathering exchange, and then they started exchanging Bitcoin on there. But yeah, I mean, it was like
But it was hacked.
and it was hacked. Yeah, it was hacked, and then everybody lost all their shit. So luckily, I didn't have it in there. But yeah, I remember looking at it when it was like $12 and being like, "Damn, I should buy this," but it was like too much of a pain in the ass to do it, and I just didn't. But yeah, but if I had put like $1,000 into it, I mean, it would. I'd be a millionaire right now.
Right.
But you know, whatever. Like James was saying, like you drive yourself crazy if you're like, oh, I should have bought Microsoft. I should have bought Apple. I should have bought all this shit.
Think about this though. Isaac bought weed with crypto. Okay, the early days of crypto, drugs drove the market. The dark web, right? Like created the need for crypto. Like without the drug purchases and without those drug markets, like there would have never been $10,000 Bitcoin. Like it was a key part of it.
Thanks, Ross Ulbricht.
Yeah, so you did your part also to help kick in, raise the value of Bitcoin by buying drugs. And the person who sold you the drugs got the Bitcoin. They did something cool with it.
They hopefully kept it.
or they paid somebody else and they kept it. Somebody has it. Maybe they sold it. Maybe they paid their supplier. Maybe they paid their employees. Right. Maybe they paid their rent. Maybe they bought more drugs. I don't know. Like.
Because if everybody would have hoarded it right off the bat, it probably wouldn't have increased in value, right? Because no one would be using it. It wouldn't have any sort of value statement attached to it. It'd just be like,
I tried to do, like, it's hard for me to spend Bitcoin. because there's so few things that I buy that it's available to spend it on. But I like to spend it when I can, but I also like to hold it, right? So
yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So I've kind of as of a couple of years ago, I adopted the like spend and replace. Like, oh, if I just bought something for like $200 in Bitcoin, I just make sure I go grab another 200, and I don't have to
put
worry
it back
about
in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I'm really just.
So you're using the
Sort of.
currency and then you're replacing it. Yeah. And
Nice.
so you're doing both.
That's a good
That's
strategy to keep your holdings secure. You guys ever heard of dollar cost averaging before?
Yeah, I use
Sure.
that for investments.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
I recommend it for crypto because the crashes are so harsh that it's like there's no other way to reliably get it safely. For anyone that doesn't know, that's just buying it on a frequency schedule, like once a week, once a day, once a month.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was Coinbase is the only place that I found that could do that for me, to do these regular scheduled purchases.
Oh,
like
I
every
use
week,
Swan
100.
Bitcoin. It has less fees.
Swan?
Yeah, it does $10 a week, and it has really low fees. Coinbase has ridiculously high fees.
Yeah,
I don't remember
Coinbase is
being
a little
particularly
sketchy.
high, but it was
Coinbase works.
But what
Yeah.
I liked about Coinbase was it could do those regular things for me. I could set it. I had a
Yeah.
whole schedule.
You could
going.
do every day on Coinbase.
Yeah. I mean,
Pay
Coinbase
$1 fee every day, but
Coinbase was the first place that I
Yeah.
actually bought Bitcoin from. Like as soon as Coinbase opened and just allowed you to buy Bitcoin with a credit card, I instantly bought Bitcoin.
and then every altcoin they add goes up in value because it's on Coinbase. So
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't fuck with the
shoot up
altcoins.
through the roof.
I
Well,
thought you
Monero
guys
is
I just
one that's
hodl.
worth buying.
Jared, I thought
XMR.
you guys were all really into the altcoins.
Yeah, I mean during the initial like crazy Bitcoin boom or a crypto boom of like what was that 2 years ago now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean we got into them because it was like, oh, now you can just like buy all these like shit coins and then hope they go to the moon and then cash them out. But I mean, it was a waste. It
Did
was a waste of
McAfee
time.
ever eat his dick?
No, I don't think he did.
Came out and said that he would not do that.
He's a fraud.
Yeah. So, okay, guys, we're about out of time here. We're gonna take things over to the after hours. If you hit us up at patreon.com/punk rock libertarians, and if you contribute a minimum of $1 per month, you will gain access to our after hours program. And on our after hours program tonight, we have a special guest booked. So that's all I'm gonna say. And then we also have t-shirts over at libertariancountry.com. If you type in the code PRL, you'll receive a 10% discount. If you spend $50 or more and use the code PRL2, you'll receive a 20% discount. This podcast is brought to you in part by Conversations About Freedom podcast, hosted by Moral Bob. Until next time, live free
Or die.